Good old George Lucas. You gotta love Lucas. He made the original Star Wars movies. But, man, whatever he was thinking when he made those prequels, because, they're supposed to be prequels. They're supposed to be so many years before the original movies. And yet, the technology, the ships, the creatures, just everything of the prequels looks so much newer than the originals. Now I understand Lucas developed Pixar and he loved the computer graphics and the CGI, special effects, and he loved all of that stuff. I get that. I understand. And I mean, who wouldn't? Who wouldn't want to use all that special technology? But you could have used the CGI in a way to make the characters and the ships and all of that look more like the technology of the originals. So that's the one thing, that I don't understand Lucas did. He recently came out and said that Disney are white slavers. But then he changed his remarks. He apologized. And he said that he's very happy that Disney is now, been successful with the new Force Awakens movie. And I believe that primarily the reason why he apologized is because Lucas is like the second highest person that holds shares of Disney. So he's going to make a fortune whenever he sells his shares in the stock. So because the movie's been so successful, he's obviously making a lot of money. Even though he's no longer involved or has ownership of Lucas Arts. So that's probably why he did that. And this was just recently said today on Forbes.com. There's a lot of funny things, that Lucas has said throughout the years. Like, for instance, in 1988, he said, "People who alter or destroy works of art in our culture for profit or as an exercise of power are barbarians." But here Lucas has himself become a barbarian by his own very own standard, because he has altered his own works. I was recently watching a video where people asked Steven Spielberg, if he thought it was right that a filmmaker go back and change his original work. And Spielberg said how in his movie E.T. there was a scene where, because they didn't have the technology, the CGI and all that, he wanted to make E.T. look a certain way. So he actually went back and he changed E.T. And everybody was all upset because that's not how they originally saw the movie. And so Spielberg said that, he realized that what a terrible mistake that he had made. And so when the movie came out, he requested that the original version be on a disc and also the remastered version be on a disc. And he said that, it's very important not to change or alter the works that you originally created, because it makes a lot of the people that saw it originally sad. It's like, because just think of it, if you went into the theater to watch a movie, you saw that movie, you connected with that movie, and you remember that movie for whatever it was, and then, say a year or whatever down the road, the filmmaker comes along and says, "Oh, I don't like this particular thing, so I'm going to change it." But then he doesn't even release the originals for you guys. He just presents you with his altered version because he feels that's what he wants. And he just completely disregards what the fans want or how people originally saw it. And so, forget all of those feelings you had with the originals. Forget all of those memories. Forget all of that, because that's not what's important. What's important is the filmmaker is the dictator, and he gets to decide how he wants his movie. And if he chooses to alter it, so be it. And that's exactly what Lucas did in The Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and Revenge of the Sith. He altered his own work. And he literally has become a barbarian. um, if you go by his own words. So I think it's kind of funny how, he would say this in 1988, and then all of a sudden, down the road, he would change his whole mind and ideas about all of this. There's another one here where it says, when I write a new Star Wars movie, it has Jar Jar in it. Jar Jar Binks. Some have said that George Lucas created Jar Jar Binks in order to annoy the original Star Wars fans. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. I have no idea. Jar Jar was an interesting character. He was very hyper. I guess you could say he was very annoying. Misa gotta go to Naboo to get on the Starfighter. It's like, where did Jar Jar come from? But, he was very original in his character creation, I think. That's the one positive thing about the prequels, is that he was very original in creating new characters, new planets, just a whole bunch of new stuff, which was, I have to admit, kind of cool and interesting. But Anakin, he had to use a little boy from Jingle All the Way. Turbo Man, I need a Turbo Man doll. He used that little kid, I forget his name, but Lucas, you could have used Anakin Skywalker as like a teenager, like you did with the originals as Luke. You didn't have to make him like a 7 or 8-year-old boy. So that's another little thing. Now, for the original movies, he felt it necessary to change certain things in the movie, like R2. Are you kidding me? R2, he had to change him from, like, he was standing next to, like, a rock, and he had to change him just a little bit more by the rock, because maybe there was, like, a shadow that he didn't like. I mean, a lot of these changes seemed, like, completely unnecessary, and it's like, what? What's going on here? Why is he changing, the location of R2-D2? This doesn't make any sense. Another one is, I have altered the scenes of the original trilogy. Pray I do not alter them further. Again, I think Lucas is kind of regretting, perhaps, a lot of the things that he, has done as far as his Star Wars movies are concerned. I mean, he even says in a recent interview how he thought the original movie, Star Wars A New Hope, was terrible and that nobody would like it. He thought it was going to be a total flop. And a lot of people did. And, he just thought it was horrible. And, everybody obviously loved it when it came out. But then over the years, he definitely felt like, oh, I don't like the way I did this. And it's kind of like, imagine if Vincent Van Gogh, a great artist, makes a painting and he puts it up for display. Everybody goes in and they admire the painting, they love the painting, they look at it, they remember it for what it is. But then Vincent Van Gogh decides to go in there some night, take a little magic eraser and erase certain things and redo them. And then those original people that went to see it are going to go in there, and they're not going to have the same memories, the same feelings. Again, it's really a disservice to the fans. I mean, you should just leave it alone. I mean, if the people like it, leave it alone, because you want to make the people happy. But that's not the way that he thinks. He thinks that he is, he wants total control of his work. Now, he recently said in an interview about how, these days nobody has any good imagination, no more creativity, there's no original stories anymore being told in Hollywood, in the movies. And then he says that he's got great stories, great original ideas, and he's going to be taking the money that he got from selling his company to make experimental films. But he said that he's going to only make them for himself, and he's going to view them, and he's going to keep them for himself. He's not going to be showing any movie. He's not going to be making big movies anymore and showing them to anyone. He's going to do small experimental films because he wants to learn things and then share those things with other movie directors and filmmakers. Pass on what he has learned. So this is what he's, doing. And I'm like, he's saying that there's no more imagination, no more original creative ideas. But then he's saying that he has great ideas and stories, but he doesn't want to tell them. He doesn't want to share them to anybody. That just doesn't. That's not consistent. It's like he's blaming everybody else for not coming up with original ideas and everything, but then he's saying that he has them, but he just doesn't want to share them with anyone. And I think that's kind of sad in a way. He said that, Star Wars was originally intended to be a children's movie. And I can understand that. I first saw Star Wars when I was young, probably about 8 or 9. And I loved them, and they had a big impact on me growing up. But even as an adult, I still enjoy Star Wars. And, if you compare the originals to the prequels, there's just so many things that were changed. There's so many things, like, the Force was just this mysterious, like, energy that you had to use your imagination to think of in the originals. But then here he comes along in Phantom Menace, and he's talking about midichlorians, and, and he's trying to explain away the Force, pretty much, So it's not like this thing that you can use your imagination anymore, which I think is kind of funny in a way, because here he's talking about people not using their imagination and everything, but he's making everything so complex. He's just giving so much more content that it kind of detracts away from the whole fun of the movie and the imagination of the movie. For example, in Empire Strikes Back, in the originals, before he altered scenes and he added new scenes and everything to the originals, we have Luke, who gets attacked by the Wampa creature on Hoth. And Luke's just hanging upside down, his feet are frozen up in the ice. And in the originals, it shows like the side of the Wampa. It doesn't really show him doing anything in the cave. You just see a little glimpse and that's it. And that was great because you had to use your imagination to think what the creature might have looked like, what he was doing in the cave. And that was the whole fun of it. It was the unknown that was exciting, that was creative, that made people use their imagination to get them thinking. But then Lucas decided that he wanted to show what the Wampa looked like, and he wanted to show people what he was doing in the cave. And so he added all this new stuff to the original, and, it took away that whole fun of that whole scene, that whole part of the movie. At least it did for me, and I think did that to other people as well. One of the big things they wanted to do in The Force Awakens is, make sure that they didn't show too much, that less is more and more is less. So in other words, nowadays, when they show a lot of the trailers, they show the very best scenes in the trailer. So you go into the movie and you already know, what's happening, what you're going to expect. And it takes away from the fun, from the imagination, from the excitement of the movie. So in that regard, I don't think that is that was a good idea that he did. Now, I appreciate George Lucas for making the original Star Wars movies. You got to give him credit for that. But I really think that he did kind of go to the dark side when he made the prequels, and I'm just happy that he handed it over to Disney and to J.J. Abrams, who I think has really helped save the whole Star Wars franchise. So that's kind of just my review of George Lucas. I think in a way it's kind of selfish. The fact that he didn't want to release the originals on Blu-ray for people. I don't know if Disney owns them. Maybe they do. Maybe in the future we will get an actual original release of the films. Who knows? Maybe he sold the company with the condition that he didn't want them to be ever released. You can get them online, but you know, it's like, if the people want to watch it, let them watch it. Just release the original movies, okay, on Blu-ray. It's not a big deal. But apparently it is for him. He wants total control of everything, and he wants people to watch it as he wants it to be watched. And again, that's kind of just disregarding the fans. And it is selfish, because he's only thinking about his work, what he wants, and that's that. So, I guess that'll end my review of George Lucas. You know, there's some other funny things that I'll put in the video here, you know, after I'm done talking. You guys can see, and maybe you get a few laughs or whatever out of. So, with that, take care, and if you like the video, please like, and don't forget to subscribe.